Official Medical Exchange Report, filed by Dr. Plix-Wobble, Junior Xenobiologist. Earth Assignment, Boston General Hospital, date Sol 47 of observation period. Look, I need to be clear about something right from the start. I never wanted this assignment. When the Galactic Medical Council said they needed a xenobiologist for their exchange program with Earth, I assumed they'd pick someone with actual experience, or at least someone who hadn't accidentally diagnosed their professor with scale rot during their final exams. But no, here I am, Dr. Plix-Wobble, proud owner of the galaxy's most useless doctoral thesis on Vraxian belly button lint, assigned to study the most terrifying species in the known universe. Humans. The assignment seemed simple enough on paper. Go to Earth, observe their medical practices, document their biological peculiarities, and try not to have a nervous breakdown. That last part wasn't in the official brief, but it really should have been. My first day at Boston General Hospital started normally enough. Administrator Click-Clack, another alien who'd been stationed here for the past 3 years, gave me the standard orientation. Z showed me the cafeteria, which serves something called Mystery Meat Mondays, that I'm pretty sure violates at least 7 galactic conventions. Then Z pointed out the coffee machine, which the humans treat with more reverence than most species treat their deities. Whatever you do, Click-Clack clicked at me, mandibles twitching nervously. Don't get between a human and their coffee, especially not before their shift starts. We lost 3 interns that way. I wasn't sure if Z was joking. I'm still not sure. Then I met Dr. Bob Thompson, the human trauma surgeon I'd be shadowing. He practically bounded into the room, radiating enough cheerful energy to power a small starship. "Dr. Wobble, great to meet you. Ready to see how we patch people up?" Now I should mention that my species is known for being cautious. We have natural armor plating, retractable spines, and 3 backup nervous systems. Humans? They have skin, just skin. Soft, easily punctured skin, no armor, no backup organs, well, hardly any. And their bones are on the inside where they can't even protect them properly. So when Dr. Thompson started showing me around the emergency department with all the enthusiasm of a sugar-high puppy, I couldn't help but wonder how his species had survived long enough to develop interstellar travel. "This is where the magic happens," he announced, gesturing to a room that looked like it had been decorated by someone with a serious love of stainless steel and those weird, stretchy curtain things. That's when Nurse Jazz Rodriguez, a human female who radiates the kind of authority that makes even battle-hardened space marines stand at attention, burst through the doors. "Got a live one, Bob. Kid tried to jump his hoverbike between 2 buildings." "Excellent." Dr. Thompson clapped his hands together like someone had just offered him free tickets to a concert. "Dr. Wobble, want to see something cool?" Before I could point out that watching a member of his species slowly expire was not my idea of cool, he was already halfway down the hall. I followed, my armor plates clicking nervously against each other. What I saw that day would be the first of many incidents that made me question everything I thought I knew about biology, physics, and the apparent indestructibility of the human species. But we'll get to that. For now, let me just say that watching a human teenager walk away from what should have been certain death, while complaining about his social media followers missing the sick jump, was my first clue that something very strange was going on with these creatures. And I was going to figure out what it was, even if it meant risking my sanity in the process. End of Part 1 report. Note to self, request additional anxiety medication from Homeworld. Official Medical Exchange Report, filed by Dr. Plix-Wobble, Junior Xenobiologist. Earth Assignment, Boston General Hospital, date Sol 74 of observation period. After 3 weeks of observation, I've come to one definitive conclusion. Humans are impossible. Not impossible in the way my third appendix professor used to say, I was impossible. No, I mean they literally defy the laws of biology on a daily basis. Let me give you some examples from just this week alone. First, there was the construction worker who fell 6 stories onto a pile of rebar. Now, any sensible species would have had the decency to expire immediately. The paperwork would have been straightforward. Instead, this human, this absolute mockery of biological common sense, was found by his co-workers playing games on his communication device while waiting for the ambulance. His only complaint? Poor wireless signal at ground level. Dr. Thompson treated him like it was a paper cut. "Missed all the important bits," he announced cheerfully, while I tried not to pass out at the sight of metal bars, passing through places where metal bars should definitely not be. "Happens all the time," Nurse Rodriguez told me later, filling out forms with one hand while mixing something called a protein shake with the other. "You should have seen the guy last month who got his head stuck in a concrete mixer. Walked out the next day, said it cleared up his sinuses." Then there was the skateboarding incident. Oh, sweet merciful nebulas. The skateboarding incident. Picture this. A human female, approximately 19 Earth years old, attempts to slide down a handrail on a primitive transportation board. She misses. Physics occurs. By my calculations, she should have broken approximately 73% of her bones and ruptured most of her major organs. Instead, she bounces like one of those rubber balls human children throw at each other during their bizarre dominance rituals called recess. When she came into the ER, Dr. Thompson just laughed. "Classic case of the Mondays," he said, while I frantically tried to make sense of her vital signs. "Just needs some ibuprofen and an ice pack." I've seen Craxon warriors in full battle armor take less punishment than these humans shrug off before their morning coffee. Speaking of which, I finally understood Administrator Click-Clack's warning about the coffee machine when it broke down yesterday. The scenes I witnessed, I need a moment. Brief pause in recording while Dr. Wobble consumes anxiety medication. Right, where was I? Yes, documenting the impossible. The most disturbing case this week involved Joey the Unstoppable Martinez, a regular patient who apparently makes it his life's mission to test the limits of human durability. He came in after attempting to microwave a frozen burrito that he'd wrapped in aluminum foil. The resulting explosion should have at least singed him. Instead, he was more upset about losing his burrito. "That was my last one, Doc," he complained to Dr. Thompson. "And I already missed lunch trying to jump my dirt bike over my neighbor's pool. I've started compiling a list of injuries that would be fatal to any sensible species, but which humans consider minor inconveniences. Multiple compound fractures, just a scratch. Severe concussions, rang my bell a bit. Third-degree burns, guess I'll skip the beach this weekend. Exposure to toxic substances, spicy, massive blood loss, bit lightheaded, got any juice? The most terrifying part? These aren't even considered remarkable cases. Dr. Thompson calls them Tuesday. I've compared these observations with medical data from every known spacefaring species. The Vraxians have their armored exoskeletons. The Zithri have regenerative abilities. The Kulaks have redundant organs. Humans, they just keep going, and it's like they don't know they're supposed to die. Or worse, they know and just don't care. I've started to develop a theory, but it's so outlandish that I dare not put it in an official report yet. I need more evidence, more observations, more proof that I'm not losing my mind. But every time I think I'm starting to understand these creatures, they do something like what happened this morning. A human male came in complaining of chest pain. Turned out he had been living with an entire metal staple in his cardiac muscle for 3 years. 3 years. His explanation? "Yeah, I was doing some home repairs, felt a twinge, figured it was heartburn. Speaking of which, got any antacids?" I need to dig deeper. There has to be an explanation for all this. Some secret evolutionary advantage we're missing, some hidden biological mechanism that makes them so frustratingly durable. End of Part 2 report. Note to self, start researching human genetic structure. There has to be a rational explanation. Has to be. Please let there be one. Additional note, investigate why humans keep saying hold my beer before doing things that should definitely kill them. Official medical exchange report filed by Dr. Plix Wobble, Junior Xenobiologist. Earth assignment, Boston General Hospital, date, Sol 103 of observation period. I've started a secret research project. Well, as secret as anything can be when you're a 6-foot-tall reptiloid with anxiety issues trying to blend in at a human hospital. Administrator Click-Clack caught me downloading historical medical records at 3 a.m. and nearly molted from shock. "What are you doing?" Z clicked nervously, all four eyes darting around the empty records room. Testing a hypothesis, I replied, trying to sound professional, while hastily minimizing a web page titled Top 100 Humans Who Should Be Dead But Aren't. You're doing the research, aren't you? Z somehow managed to make those capitals audible. Everyone does the research eventually. Just be careful. And whatever you do, don't tell the humans. I assured Zir I would be discreet, then promptly knocked over an entire filing cabinet, because my tail was twitching from nervous energy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain what led to this clandestine investigation. It started with the coffee machine incident I mentioned earlier. When it broke down, I expected mild disappointment. Instead, I witnessed something that defied explanation. Dr. Thompson, our eternally cheerful trauma surgeon, literally pried open the industrial-grade steel casing with his bare hands to fix it. Let me repeat that: he bent metal with his hands, his unarmored biological hands. When I asked him about it later, he just shrugged. Really needed my coffee. This led me down a rabbit hole of research, which, by the way, is a human expression I still don't understand. Why would anyone follow a rabbit into a hole? But I digress. I started collecting cases, not just from our hospital, but from medical facilities worldwide. The pattern that emerged was disturbing. There was the deep-sea welder who survived a pressure suit rupture at 1,000 meters by just holding my breath real good. The mountain climber who fell into a crevasse, set her own broken leg, and climbed out while humming something called Eye of the Tiger. The farmer who got his arm caught in a thresher, drove himself to the hospital, and asked if they could hurry it up because he had cows to milk. But the real breakthrough came from studying their cellular structure. Human cells don't just repair themselves, they get annoyed at being damaged. It's like they take personal offense to injury. I observed this firsthand when Joey the Unstoppable Martinez returned to the ER. This time he'd tried to recreate something called Jackass, with a shopping cart and rocket-powered roller skates. "How are you even conscious right now?" I demanded as he sat there, casually texting with his one unbroken thumb. "Dunno, Doc. Hey, once I'm patched up, want to see me do it again?" That's when it hit me. Humans don't have natural armor because they don't need it. They're already virtually indestructible. They just haven't noticed. Think about it. Their bones can break and heal stronger. Their skin can be cut and repair itself with minimal scarring. They can lose significant amounts of blood and just make more. Their organs can regenerate, and they can survive extreme temperatures, and they can adapt to almost any environment. They can digest substances that would kill most species. They can go days without sleep and still function. And the most terrifying part, they think this is normal. I tested this theory by asking Dr. Thompson about human durability compared to other species. "Oh yeah," he said while casually resetting a patient's dislocated shoulder. "I guess we're pretty tough. Did you know humans used to hunt by literally chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion? Pretty cool, right? I had to excuse myself to hyperventilate in the supply closet after that conversation. But the final piece of evidence came from the most unlikely source, the hospital's coffee machine. Again. This time it wasn't just broken, it was completely dead. The repair company said they couldn't come for 3 days. 3 days. What followed was something the humans called MacGyvering, but what I would call violating several laws of physics. I watched in horror as Nurse Rodriguez and Dr. Thompson turned the machine into something that not only made coffee but somehow improved its efficiency by 200%, using paper clips and rubber bands and what I'm pretty sure was gum. When I pointed out that this should be impossible, Nurse Rodriguez just patted my arm. "Honey, impossible is just Tuesday around here. I need to compile all this evidence and present it to the Galactic Medical Council. But first I need to figure out how to explain that the most feared predator species in the galaxy isn't dangerous because of their weapons or technology. They're dangerous because they simply refuse to accept their own limitations." End of Part 3 report. Note to self, start drafting emergency presentation for GMC. Working title, Humans, the species that said no to evolution and got away with it. Additional note, Still no explanation for the hold my beer phenomenon. Further research required. Remember how we all laughed when humans first joined the galactic community and didn't understand why everyone else wore armor? We thought they were just being primitive or reckless. We were wrong. So very, very wrong. Let me present my findings from Earth's historical records. Ancient Egypt. Humans performed brain surgery with copper tools, and some patients survived. Let me repeat that. Copper tools in their brains, and they lived. Medieval period. Humans survived plagues that should have wiped out their entire species, then developed immunity just to spite the bacteria. Industrial Revolution. They literally inhaled coal dust for centuries and kept going. Modern era. They invented something called extreme sports because regular ways of tempting death weren't exciting enough. But here's where it gets really interesting. While reviewing these records, I had an epiphany. It happened during what the humans call a night shift, which is apparently when they save their most impossible medical cases. A human male was brought in after being struck by atmospheric electricity. They call it lightning, which sounds far too cute for something with that much voltage. According to every medical text I've studied, this should have been a simple case of declaring time of death. Instead, the human sat up and asked if his phone was okay. Dr. Thompson, who at this point I suspect might be some kind of chaos deity disguised as a surgeon, just laughed. "Third lightning strike victim this month. Must be something about that golf course." That's when everything clicked. I called an emergency virtual meeting with the council, and I need you all to brace yourselves for what I'm about to share. Humans don't have natural armor because they're already practically indestructible. But it's worse than that. They're actively getting stronger. Consider these facts. Their bones don't just heal, they heal stronger at the break points. They're literally using injuries to upgrade themselves. Their immune systems get bored without regular challenges. They seek out new pathogens just to have something to do. Their bodies adapt to poisons over time. What kills them today might be their coffee substitute in a few generations. They can replace almost any lost body part with mechanical substitutes, and their bodies just accept it. Like it's normal to be part machine. They regularly survive things that their own medical science says should be fatal. During my presentation of these findings to the council, Administrator Click-Clack burst into the conference room. "Tell them about the baby humans," Z clicked frantically. "What about them?" asked Council Member Vraxithor. I consulted my notes and felt my scales pale. Oh no. Council members, human infants, their most vulnerable stage, they bounce. The council chamber erupted in chaos. That's impossible. Against the laws of physics, sir. Are they made of rubber? No, I explained, my voice trembling. They're just human. And it gets worse. They have this thing called toddlers. It's like their larval stage. These creatures routinely survive falls, impacts and collisions that would shatter our armor plating, and they do it while laughing. I proceeded to show them footage from something humans call America's Funniest Home Videos. 3 council members fainted. "But surely they have some weakness?" Council Member Zix asked hopefully. I shook my head. Their only consistent weakness appears to be something called Lego bricks when stepped on, but they keep making more of them anyway. It's like they enjoy the challenge. "What about their lack of armor, their exposed organs, their fragile appearance?" another council member demanded. "All seemingly intentional," I replied. "They don't need armor because their entire body is basically a self-repairing, self-upgrading battle tank, disguised as a soft, squishy creature. And the worst part? They have no idea." To demonstrate this point, I shared security footage from our ER showing Joey the Unstoppable Martinez's latest visit. He had attempted to test if humans could breathe underwater by filling his apartment with jello. But that's not how anything works," Council Member Vraxithor sputtered. "Exactly," I said, and yet he not only survived but posted the whole thing on something called TikTok and got millions of views. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. We're not dealing with a primitive species that hasn't developed proper defenses. We're dealing with a species that's so naturally resilient that they never needed to develop them in the first place. And they're spreading across the galaxy, bringing their impossible biology and their hold-my-beer moments with them. End of Part 4 report. Note to self: begin research into whether human resilience is contagious. The way Dr. Thompson keeps surviving his own coffee might suggest some kind of infectious immortality. Additional note: purchasing set of Lego bricks for further research purposes. Official medical exchange report. Filed by Dr. Plix Wobble, Junior Xenobiologist. Earth assignment, Boston General Hospital. Date Sol 142 of observation period. Remember how I said I would be discreet about my research? Well, that plan went about as well as Joey Martinez's attempt to become the first human cannonball to Mars. The information leaked. I blame the council's intern, Greg. Yes, they hired a human intern. That's a whole other crisis. Now the entire galactic medical community is in an uproar, and I'm getting bombarded with messages from xenobiologists across 17 star systems. Here's a sampling of the chaos my revelation has caused. The Vraxians have recalled all their exchange students from Earth, citing concerns about contamination by immortality. They seem to think human durability might be catching. To be fair, I've been working with Dr. Thompson for months now, and I did survive a direct hit from the coffee machine when it finally achieved sentience last week. The Zithri Medical Academy has launched an emergency study into human cellular structure, but 3 of their top researchers had to take stress leave after witnessing a skate park on a Saturday afternoon. The 4th is still in therapy after seeing something called a gender reveal party that involved fireworks and an alligator. The Kulaks have formally requested that humans stop visiting their hospitals because they're making our actual emergency cases feel inadequate. Apparently, a human tourist walked in with a completely severed arm, asked if they had Wi-Fi while waiting, and then mentioned that this was like the 3rd time this has happened. But the diplomatic incidents are even worse. The Galactic Safety Council tried to ban humans from professional sports competitions, claiming their ability to walk off near-fatal injuries was unfair to other competitors. This backfired when humans responded by inventing 3 new extreme sports out of spite. The Intergalactic Insurance Consortium is in complete meltdown. They've been trying to calculate human health insurance premiums, and their best quantum computers keep returning error messages that just say, "Why?" in large, frightened letters. Meanwhile, back at Boston General, things have gotten weird. Dr. Thompson finally noticed all the alien medical observers following him around and asking questions about human durability. His response? "Oh yeah, we're pretty sturdy. Hey, want to see me pop my shoulder out of joint? It's a cool party trick." Nurse Rodriguez has started keeping a tally of impossible survivals, but she had to stop because we ran out of wall space in the break room. And Joey Martinez, he's become something of a celebrity among the alien medical community. 3 different species have requested permission to study his genetic structure, hoping to understand how he survived what they're calling the hot sauce incident. For the record, ghost peppers and rocket fuel should not be combined, no matter how many YouTube subscribers you have. The humans, for their part, remain blissfully unaware of the panic they're causing across the galaxy. When a Zithri doctor fainted after seeing a human child fall off a 3rd-story balcony, bounce off a car, and immediately asked to do it again, the parents just called it kids being kids. Administrator Click-Clack has taken to stress molting in the supply closet. I found Zir in there yesterday, surrounded by shed exoskeleton plates, muttering something about how humans don't even have backup organs, they just convince the remaining ones to work harder. The final straw came during yesterday's emergency room shift. A human construction worker came in with a steel beam through his torso, again I must emphasize, through his torso, and his only complaint was that he'd missed his lunch break. Dr. Thompson, with his usual inappropriate cheerfulness, simply said, "Looks like it missed everything important. We'll have you back at work by Monday." I had to excuse myself to send another urgent message to the council. Urgent update: humans don't even know they're immortal. I repeat, they think this is normal. Request immediate formation of Galactic Committee to determine if humans are A. Evolved from ancient god beings. B. Actually liquid metal robots in very convincing skin suits. C. The universe's way of ignoring its own rules. D. All of the above. The Council's response was a single line. Please stop sending us these reports. They're making the archive AI question its existence. But I can't stop. The galaxy needs to know, needs to understand what we're dealing with here. Because if humans ever figure out that they're practically indestructible, well, actually, they'd probably just use that knowledge to invent even more dangerous sports. End of Part 5 report. A note to self: begin drafting paper titled The Human Paradox When Evolution Gives Up and Goes Home. Additional note: Joey Martinez has just been admitted again. Apparently, he tried to prove humans could photosynthesize by covering himself in plant food and sunbathing. Send help. Official Medical Exchange Report filed by Dr. Plix Wobble, Junior Xenobiologist. Earth Assignment, Boston General Hospital. Date Sol 180 of Observation Period. Final Report. Final submission to Galactic Medical Council. Subject: accepting the inevitable. Humans are just like that. Dear Council members, those of you who haven't resigned in existential despair. After 6 months of observation, countless panic attacks, and 3 complete molts, I've reached my final conclusions about human durability. I've also decided to stay on Earth, partly because the research is fascinating, and partly because I've developed a concerning addiction to something called stress baking. But before I get to my conclusions, I need to tell you about yesterday's incident. It perfectly encapsulates everything we need to understand about humans. It started, as these things often do, with Joey the Unstoppable Martinez saying the fateful words, "Hold my beer." He had decided to test my research findings about human durability by, and I wish I was making this up, trying to become the first human to crowd surf down a hospital stairwell on a gurney while juggling scalpels. The resulting chaos involved 2 broken windows, 1 sentient coffee machine, it's still making death threats in Italian, 3 traumatized alien observers, Administrator Click-Clack's 4th stress molt this week, and somehow, impossibly, 0 serious injuries. When the dust settled, Dr. Thompson just smiled and said, "Well, at least he was already in the hospital this time." And that's when it hit me. We've been looking at this all wrong. Humans aren't immortal, they're not indestructible, they're something far more terrifying. They're adaptable. They don't have natural armor because they never needed to commit to any one defense. Instead, they develop the ability to just deal with whatever happens to them. Get stabbed? They heal around the blade. Break a bone, it grows back stronger. Lose an organ? The others pick up the slack. Experience massive blood loss? They just make more blood, like it's a casual hobby. My final recommendations to the Council are as follows. Stop trying to classify humans by normal medical standards. They're not playing by the same rules as the rest of the galaxy. Accept that "hold my beer" is now a recognized medical term indicating incoming impossibility. Start updating medical textbooks to include the phrase "technically fatal, but probably fine if it's a human." Consider hiring more human medical staff, if only because they can survive their own treatment methods. Install more coffee machines, trust me on this one. As for me, I've decided to specialize in human emergency medicine. Someone needs to document these miracles of biological defiance, and I've already developed the necessary eye twitches and stress responses. Plus, Dr. Thompson says I'm getting better at not fainting when humans demonstrate their cool party tricks, involving dislocated joints and impossible survival stories. Just yesterday, I successfully treated a human child who had swallowed 6 marbles, a toy car, and what I'm pretty sure was a small battery. When I panicked, the mother just shrugged and said, "Oh yeah, he's going through a putting things in his mouth phase. Should pass through his system in a day or 2. And she was right, so yes, I'm staying. Someone needs to be here to warn the new alien medical observers what they're getting into. Administrator Click-Clack has already started a support group. Besides, Joey Martinez has promised to make me the official medical documenter of his next great feat, attempting to prove that humans can achieve flight by strapping enough fireworks to a lawn chair. May the galaxy have mercy on us all. End of final report. P.S. Update from the ER. Remember that construction worker with the steel beam through his torso? He just came in for his follow-up. Not only is he fine, but he's apparently training for a marathon. When Dr. Thompson asked why, he said, and I quote, "Well, the beam missed everything important, so why not?" PPS, the coffee machine has gained access to the hospital's Wi-Fi. Send help. Note to self, start working on my next research paper. Why human medical science is just elaborate record-keeping of things that should not be possible. Additional note, Joey Martinez has just been admitted again. I have to go for science.